Hello and welcome to this, another edition of the Crypto Club and Digital Assets weekly catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday the 15th of June 2025. As is always the case, never know what we're going to end up talking about. Typically, it depends upon who joins the call, but we sometimes discuss blockchains, whether that's layer 1, layer 2 solutions, cryptocurrencies, crypto assets, crypto tokens, DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, SCOs, any other three-letter acronyms really. Sometimes talk about central bank digital currencies, crypto regulation, intersection of AI, and Internet of Things too. So always lots of things to possibly talk about. We hold these sessions every Sunday evening, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. UK time, and everyone's welcome, whether you're a novice or an expert. If you're just beginning in this area, there's always lots of acronyms and codes, and it's all very confusing. So do come along, and hopefully you'll get to learn something. If you're someone who's running a project or who has an initiative and would like to take part in our Gone in 180 Seconds session, just let me know. This is where we have 3 minutes where you get to deliver an elevator pitch without the aid of slides, graphics, any form of presentation or demonstration, just you talking for 3 minutes. Anyway, so with that, let's see who's going to come and join us today. Annie, good evening to you.
Hello.
Here we go. We've got Stuart as well from sunny California, I presume.
Absolutely. Wonderful sun shining down.
So anything else going on with you, Stuart, at the moment?
Technologically, not really, no. I'm trying to figure out how to launch a meme coin and how much liquidity I need.
Wow. Is that a Stuart meme coin then?
No. It's with someone in the UK.
I've been joined by Sarah as well. Hello, Sarah.
Hello. Hi.
The UK FCA list.
FCA, yeah.
Yeah, the UK FCA list, from what I remember, is not long at all. And interestingly enough, having the fact that I get involved in the regulated non-crypto space quite a lot as well, then if you actually take a look at regulated companies, they're actually quite often in breach of stuff. And if you look at the fines that get passed through, even with the well-known high street brands, you know, if you take a look at the retail banking sector, the fines that they pay for regulatory breaches means that they're not exactly as shiny as people might claim either. And
agreed.
Yeah, so it is a bit of an oddity that we assume that because there's a brand name in there, that they're all, you know, really well behaved and everything. Whereas quite often what they'll do is they'll notice some dubious activity, they'll raise a suspicious activity report, and that's their bit done. You know, so it's like, yes, I saw, you know, a Mexican jet come in and $5 million get handed over or whatever. As long as I report it, that's my bit done type thing. And then you take a look at some of the other stuff. All of the big banks pay, I think it's in the region of billions in fines each year. I was looking at the Transparency Task Force report recently, and it's astounding. And it's something, it kind of proves that a financial fine regulation does not prevent bad behavior. And there's no incentive to go against it. I think the banks treat it as a cost of doing business. And for the regulator and the government, it's a source of income, which is quite bizarre. But if you do take a look at the regulatory space, everyone thinks that all the well-known firms are squeaky clean and all the crypto firms are the dodgy dealers.
No, but I think it's important to say that, you know, compliance should be an enabler. It should never be a blocker. It should help to enhance systems and improve systems, not block. So I think that's really important, and that's why it's super important today that, you know, if a crypto company wants to be onboarded, that we all understand ways of onboarding them in a safe way, and not just saying, oh no, it's too high risk, can't do it. You know, it's really important that we all sort of take a stance here and go, right, what can we do to help that and to get these crypto companies working well? and actually helping the ones that, as you say, do want to do good. And that's where I want to really learn, because I want to make sure that I am onboarding the best ones and the ones that know exactly what they're doing and that understand, customer vulnerability and really profiling all of their customers to understand whether they can afford to make these investments, shall we say, in crypto. So really, really important for me that I help to enable it and enhance it, not block it.
I think that's really refreshing. I completely agree. And I get the same conversation even in the non-crypto world in financial services. I have a lot of meetings with people in the banking and insurance sector in particular. And it's amazing how it is that you ask the question, you say, first of all, what's the purpose of regulation? Well, it's in the UK, it's to achieve three things. It's to prevent systemic failure of the financial system. It's to protect the consumer. And after the Finance Act of 2024, I think it is, the new requirement is to maintain a regulatory competitive environment. But if we
you've swallowed the Kool-Aid, haven't you?
Well, there's that, but they're only just in the process of adopting it, and we'll see where that goes. But coming back to the whole thing about regulation, if regulation is about protecting the consumer, then why would you claim that regulation is stifling it?
Well, it's never about the consumer. That it's about government overreach, basically, and taxation.
And that's the sad thing.
Taxation and control.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and anyway, we've got someone else who likes regulation because we're joined by Meg. Good evening, Meg.
Hi, Meg.
How are you?
Hello,
Hi,
Meg.
Sarah. Hi, Annie. Hi, Stuart.
Yeah, Meg just bringing us sweet. Sarah and all of us just been chatting about regulation and using it as an enabler as opposed to a preventer.
I don't know that it's ever been an enabler, in my opinion. So I was historically a head of compliance and MLRO, right? Stopping drug money and stopping the bad stuff in a board level position. The regulation is really about trying to control a process that could bring definite harm, absolutely, to consumers and everything else. But I mean, we have TCF, we have all sorts of things. But regulation, unfortunately, in my experience of 30 years of a career, has been about being able to prove we did the best we can, rather than supporting innovation or I think it's sort of a tick box exercise, unfortunately. And the SEC and the Americans, they're really prescriptive, and we grew up as kids. If you used a number 8 pencil, the exam could be marked. If you used a number 10, it all went haywire, right? You have currency transaction reports at $10,000. And so everyone thinks that's the denomination people money launder in. And then you have the FCA, who say they don't want a tick box approach. There's a difference between, prescriptive and principles based, and Americans prescriptive, and the UK is supposed to be principles based. But I don't think either of them are making, we have principle 11, right? Tell us anything you think we should know. Well, why aren't we collaborating? How about I think we should be having more open conversations? I shouldn't be running in fear when the FCA comes through because they're going to shaft me on something meaningless. I should be able to collaborate with them and be able to make a difference that's constructive without stifling industry. So, it's probably not a very popular view, but it's definitely been my experience.
I think you've got it right, absolutely, and that's why it's good if we've got people who are willing to challenge it and willing to offer different perspectives and different approaches. So it's definitely
the thing that does my head in is like everyone's talking about the war on drugs, and I grew up. I'm 50, and I grew up with this is your brain on drugs, with an egg frying and stuff like this, and Nancy Reagan and the war on drugs, but I really think it was because they couldn't tax the money. And how do we put it through? How do we make it? And it's decimating our communities. It's definitely, socially has horrendous impacts. But
Yeah, look at Keith Richards or Mick Jagger. They're brain on drugs. They're doing pretty well, aren't they?
well, oh, okay, that was not a runway I was prepared to go down, Stuart, but I love it. But it's really if a freaking marine biologist off the coast of Argentina in 2015 can take a video of a turtle, yeah, and film the extraction of this straw. It's not lost on me stopping drug money, right? The parallel. Straws,
Okay.
Coke, straws, turtles. Anyway,
Oh, okay. I use $100 bills.
of course you do, P. Diddy. But yeah. But if they can take a video of this, and we're so horrified that some animal that could live 150 years is dealing with our consumerism and dealing with disposable plastics, that bada boom, bada bing. I mean, we don't have straws anymore. Why have we not had that galvanizing moment if the intention of regulation was protecting the consumer?
They've done away with plastic straws, and now they've got paper. And now we're going back to plastic because paper is jamming up all sorts of sewers and everything. So
Well,
it's
McDonald's, my favorite
illusionary.
was McDonald's brought out a straw that couldn't be recycled because it was double thick. And Italy brought out a straw made of pasta. I mean, so the thing for me is if we wanted to do something about it, we would. And as you know, the UK is sort of the money laundering capital of the world. You
Yeah,
need less validation
absolutely.
to open a company than you do to get a COVID exam. So, we got to sort of look at the intentions. And I think that's where the genesis will come in terms of a new era.
I always recommend people to read the book Treasure Islands, which is not the Robert Louis Stevenson version of Treasure Island, but Treasure Islands, which is about the City of London and its background and
Yeah.
how it facilitates international trade. It's well worth reading, definitely. Well, an interestingly different conversation this evening, certainly.
Well,
So,
talking about Coke and straws and regulations,
there we
Treasure
go.
Islands. Yes.
Well done, Meg.
And have you read this one?
Rinsed. Oh
No.
no, it's
Well,
my.
on Wednesday, Erica Staniforth, who did the Crypto Wars, she's
Mhm.
giving a speech in the city where Miles Johnson, FT reporter, if you're into this shit, I've got a freebie invite for you, and you can meet the authors and you can talk to people that are super geeky about this.
I know Erica already. She used to come to some of my meetings, in fact,
So
before she
you're the
set up.
launching board, are you?
Yeah, well, no, she was running her own crypto club dinners, and she used to come over to one of the crypto events I used to run, and now she's involved with CMS Law
Yep.
and Charlie Kerrigan, Greg I.
Yep.
Definitely, Sarah, if you want to speak to legal people about this whole space, can definitely recommend a conversation with Charlie, who's very knowledgeable, has written some good stuff as well.
Well, I'm sending you the
Oh,
link now.
yes, please.
It's on their book. Anyway, I've sent you the link. It's really good.
Cool. So, Meg, how would you like to tell us what you're working on?
Oh,
And
I
how
thought
would
that
you?
was at the end. I thought that's what the
Nah.
fat lady sang.
We can throw it in whenever you feel comfortable. I'm more than happy. I've got my timer at the ready here.
Yeah.
When you feel good, we can do a special gone in 180 seconds.
Oh, you can hope. I'm never gone.
But I do have the mute button as well. So
That's
after
good.
3
It's more than
minutes,
James Rowater had. I made
uh,
my first pitch at Digital Commonwealth in a Scarface jacket, poor bastard. Anyway,
yeah. But if you want to chat about the thing, whatever, more than happy to set the stopwatch and listen.
yeah,
Or
I can do it, but I want
yeah.
honest feedback. I want brutal feedback. So tell
Mhm.
me when, baby.
Okay, well, let's carry on chatting in case anyone else joins, because sometimes a couple more join just after past. I think they're sometimes on all the calls and that. So meanwhile, I can open the question up of, has anyone got any news, anything else they'd like to share in the meantime, or any questions for that matter? This is why it always goes quiet when I say that. Go for it, Mag.
Have you seen the petition on Solana about the NFTs that have had a, the crumbs of the sale have accumulated to something like 50 million. And there was a tweet about it that the majority of people that own an element of that community kickback from their NFTs don't have the percentage to influence the vote. And there was a bit of a storm on Twitter about it yesterday.
Okay.
I can send you that link.
Yeah, go for it. And meanwhile, I'll see if I can find anything on that. I've got a quote on Solana versus BSC, the battle for DEX dominance in 2025, or I don't think that's quite the same thing.
My Twitter feed was all about Israel and Iran.
I was going to say mine tends to be a bit more about physical world activities going on. I was just thinking now, I couldn't find it.
Let me switch accounts.
Yeah,
I just sent it to you on your WhatsApp.
Okay, my computer's sulking at the moment. Did you stick it in the chat?
I can do, Mr. Not All. I'll do anything for you, hey.
I've got no idea where that accent was meant to be, but it wasn't a very good one.
Suppose
All right,
if
can I ask you a question then? Since Annie, are you going to talk? Because otherwise I'm going to fill all the air. It's a problem.
No, I was just saying that if you're putting it on WhatsApp, then I can retrieve it later.
I put it in the group chat here.
There we go.
Okay.
And who's Sarah? Is she a black hole?
Sarah's a person who I think you invited. Is that right, Sarah?
Correct.
Oh my God, my friend from Manchester. How the devil are you?
Hello.
There we go. That's a real
Talking
Northern
about bloody
accent.
regulations, Sarah.
We were talking about it because I need to know, and I'm so glad you invited me as well. So thank you, Meg.
Sarah is super epic. She had the misfortune of being in my ICA program when we were both studying to become MLROs. And she survived.
And let's face it, in terms of places where there's lots of money going for nefarious purposes, shall we say, Manchester's quite good for that, allegedly.
Do you think? Do you think? So there is a chicken shop near me. Everyone get on Google. It's called Miami Crispy. And it has queues of people out of the door. I have never, ever in my life seen a chicken shop have queues of people like that. In fact, my partner said that he'd never seen a chicken shop with that many people outside. And it's so interesting. And it is just because the food is that good. It is honestly
is that the one in Rochdale,
incredible.
Then?
No, it's Burnage.
Oh,
and
okay.
They've now opened up a franchise, so there's a couple of them now. But the original one, honestly, 10 out of 10 kind of food. So you can see where the money's coming from, the queues of the people. I'm one of those people. So here's the thing. They only take cash. So, they could quite easily be,
commingling of funds, Sarah. Yeah.
100%, very easily, because there'd be next to zero proof that they're not doing that kind of turnover of customers, whereas other places that you see full restaurants, huge kitted out restaurants with not a soul inside, and you think, how are they staying alive? I mean, that's just as an AML person, it's just everywhere I go, I have these thoughts when I see certain shops. Not just in Manchester, everywhere you go,
I think there seems to be waves of things. Certainly chicken takeaway places were a big one, weren't they? And then you've got...
what about the American sweet shops? 20 of them.
I was going to say Oxford Street with American sweet shops, and also Turkish barbers. Where I live, the area, we've got the best haircuts going. You wouldn't believe it, because we've got so many Turkish barbers, constantly busy, which is weird. You know, if you go into one of the local
Obviously, you
towns,
don't go there with a haircut like that.
I was waiting for that, and I knew I could rely on you
You
for that.
lined
Yes,
yourself up on that one.
absolutely, yeah. But if you go into this particular local town not far from me this evening at 10 o'clock, there will be barbers open, and they will be doing not that much business, but they'll have people in there. So yeah.
But you know
I'm
what's really
curious.
frustrating?
Sorry, Mac, to
No, please
distract
shut
you.
me up. Go. Yeah.
I was just thinking, are any of these shops, whether the chicken ones or the barber ones, taking, bitcoins or whatever it is, that we're in cryptocurrency mode.
They don't want to, because that then becomes traceable. Whereas the
They
nice
don't
thing,
want it traceable.
no, don't want it traceable.
They use a weird thing called cash.
Mm. Yeah. And it comes back to my original point with Sarah earlier on about how a lot of people are critical about crypto and are suspicious about the regulatory compliance and that kind of thing. But actually, we can come up with lots of these examples which aren't crypto, which are every bit as dubious and so on.
Well, you know what upsets me is, Sarah, I wish you'd come on bloody camera. I haven't seen you in forever, you bugger. But
Oh,
anyway,
I'm so sorry. You sent it to me like 4 minutes after it started, so I had to just jump on, and I had no
mate, I've
time.
had to put
So
on freaking granny lashes to not look like,
no, you
I'm
look
90
great.
years
You look
old.
great. You
But
look great.
sorry, I probably shouldn't have said that.
It took me over an hour to get ready this evening. Well, all the makeup, the foundation.
But all right, well, okay, can we have an honest conversation? So I'm ADD and I'm trying to do something very, very different. My whole bloody life, I spent trying to fit in because I thought if I was in the middle of the pack, I'd be safe, right? And
Sorry, quick thing. Are you okay with this being recorded and being published?
I've had 3 million people see my knickers last week, Gary. I think I'm all
Yes.
right. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good shot, by the way.
But you didn't say anything. How can a fucking bit of thigh and a piece of fabric cause such a meltdown? It's ridiculous.
All right, carry on. All I request is no swearing, because
I
YouTube will
can't,
probably ban me.
I'm gonna claim Equality Act on that and reasonable adjustments, and I don't control my. No, I'm joking.
I do argue actually that under the Equality Act, then if you've got Tourette's, then you should be able to swear to your heart's content. So,
But
anyway,
we're talking about money laundering. We're talking about really horrible things being financed. And the internet wants to focus on me smoking or sitting on a toilet or swearing. Well, what about the girls that are screaming to die every moment when we're turning a blind eye? Like if we really put, I don't know why everything rhymes when I'm making something up. I'm really sorry. But turning a blind eye, anyway. Okay, so if we really cared, if we really cared about making a difference, we'd probably focus on things that matter rather than having this superfluous conversation about things that are easy to track, right? And the FCA talks about being principles based. In my opinion, crypto, DeFi was started because they were so annoyed with TradFi. It took too long to make a payment. The banks could say no, things could get frozen, but when there was enough will to try something new, we did. And in the UK, we have Companies House with companies registered to Batman or people that aren't born for another 15 years.
that is changing at the moment, though.
Well,
They
now they're
are.
doing verified ID, but how hard is that to fake with AI, my love? So, the innovation will always find a way around the rule. But if innovation was leading our response, we would have far, far greater results.
Mm.
And that's really frustrating, right?
I think that's absolutely fair. And it is interesting that they are at last introducing things. Companies House, it frustrates me how many people you can find with the same name, but with slightly different dates of birth, for example, which means if you do a match, you won't find them.
Do an address search.
Yeah.
You'll be gobsmacked. 400 companies registered in a single bedsit over a kebab in Wales. Like,
so that is normal kind of thing. That you do
but
get
we
companies.
tolerate that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Collectively. So I wrote an article in 2023 without knickers or smoking or swearing, and it was called Turtles, Hash Browns, and wait, no. Courage cake and a half-eaten hash brown. What does it have to do with turtles? And it was enough of a record scratch, like, does this woman need to be sectioned to get people to read
Mhm.
it, right? And so there's this thing called complicity and complacency, right? And and I think if we were really honest with ourselves, if we were truly, I mean, do you know how much we spend on regulation? 225 billion a year for financial crime regulation implementation for a point 0.1 effectiveness. I mean, I couldn't even keep a job at that level. So we're tolerating it. So are we in the complicit, like we're benefiting from it? Or are we in the complacent? We've given up and we're not fighting. But either way, the longer we continue that, the longer that becomes normal and accepted. And it's really up to all of us to think about, what are you willing to have happen without your participation? And that's the spirit of crypto, the innovation, the disruption, the radical, I mean, if a Swedish girl can sit outside of Parliament and cause a movement, or, Rosa Parks doesn't stand up and cause a movement, or, like we're far more powerful than than we want to be responsible for. And I think collectively, that's that's really heartbreaking, because if we connected to what these crimes are, rather than paying an army of people to enforce the regulation, we could employ those army of people on stopping the activity. But that charge hasn't sort of reached general consciousness or conversation yet, has it?
I think that's an absolutely valid thing. And just while you're chatting that, I was actually trying to find the Transparency Task Force violation tracker, which comes up with the
Transparency International?
yeah, not Transparency International. There's a group in the UK which is called the Transparency Task Force, and they launched the violation tracker where they track all the breaches that have been reported and everything. But I can't actually find the database offhand. But you look at the fines that go through, and it's, as you say, it's
But
quite
it's nominal.
outstanding.
It's
Yeah,
nominal. It's like a parking ticket compared to how much is laundered and how much industry that sustains.
yeah.
I mean, back in 2019, I called the whistleblowing hotline of the FCA.
Okay.
And thankfully, I had 5 companies that year, so I'm not naming a company. But I went to make a whistleblowing report, and the whistleblowing hotline was a phone with an answering machine at the FCA, and the voicemail was full. You couldn't leave a message.
Wow.
And so then I called the Connect helpline, and the person that's being paid for from the government, aka our taxes, wanted me to call ACAS as an employment tribunal, and this is the freaking regulator. So if we tolerate such poor outcomes, well, then we're allowing them to continue, aren't we?
Well, just as we were talking there, I actually checked out the violation tracker, and I arbitrarily chose HSBC, so simply for convenience, because that's an internationally known organisation. And this is just some of the fines that they've paid. It's like these numbers certainly start adding up, but they also go on and on. These are over many years in many countries. There's just so much, and it kind of proves, as I was saying with Sarah earlier on there, all because you've got regulated companies, it doesn't mean that they're not doing interesting things. I can recommend Violation Tracker to everybody. Violation Tracker global.goodjobs, I think it is .co.uk. Because you can just put in a company name if you want to find out about them. And it's not just banks these days. So I think if I did something like, again, just for randomness.
Is that pure UK site or?
No, it's they're trying to extend it to be truly international. So it's worldwide. In fact, that's why it's called the global tracker. So, as an example, British Airways, just again as an arbitrary thing. You take a look at some of the flyings they're subject to. The numbers do look somewhat smaller there, but it's a fascinating piece of work that they put together, and can certainly recommend for those who are interested in that space, take a look at it. So, yeah, so interesting stuff. So,
Hi, Miles. Fresh blood. Who are you?
Meg straight in there. Let me try that a different way. Miles, thank you for joining us. Hello, welcome aboard. He's gone off now. We've scared him off, Meg. Miles, don't worry. You can say hello if you want to. He's now frantically reaching for the
Un
mute.
momento, anda, papi.
He's got sound issues.
I saw that, but he's also speaking Spanish, Sarah.
Testing.
There
One,
we
two,
go.
three.
We can hear now, Miles.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for organising it, and stoked to be here. And it's a shame I didn't get the first 45 minutes, but great to catch the last 14.
well, some of it's recorded, so it will come up on YouTube. Some of it I will censor because it's not stuff I necessarily want to appear on the YouTube channel. But it was a great deal of fun. You missed out. But Miles, welcome aboard. We're just chatting generally at the moment about the regulatory space, and in particular crypto regulation, and even more specific UK crypto regulation. And we've got Meg and Sarah are both heavily into this space, and then Stuart and Annie are regulars on this session. Stuart being in the US, Annie being in the UK. So we've got a wide range of interests. I don't know about yourself, Miles. Do you want to introduce yourself? Is Miles having sound problems again? He's having more problems now. Never mind. This is the way it sometimes goes. Meg, before you get too comfortable, would you like to use this opportunity to give us your 3-minute pitch on whatever it is you're doing?
Sure. If you want me to.
Yeah, go for it. Hang on a minute. So just for the benefit of everybody, what we sometimes do on these sessions is we do our gone in 180 seconds. And the idea is you've got 3 minutes to just talk about whatever project you're doing that may be of interest in some way. It's not a sales pitch. It's kind of like an extended elevator pitch, really. So please, no pimping of scams or dubious things or whatever. But you get 3 minutes. So I don't know if you can see it on there. You probably can't. Where I actually set the timer and we give Meg or whoever 3 minutes of airtime without the aid of PowerPoints or presentations or can I share my screen or let me do this demo, which actually some people find really off-putting. But I think if you can't explain yourself in 3 minutes, then you might want to rethink a little bit. So Meg, welcome aboard. And Meg, you've now got 3 minutes, and I will count down. I'll wave when it's 2 minutes and 1 minute as well.
No, just wave when it's like 5 seconds. Anyway, I should be done.
Right, go for it. Meg, 3 minutes, over to you.
All right, cool. So my name is Megan Birch, and I'm on a mission to make a radical difference to the detection and prevention of financial crimes, because we're wasting a lot of money. We're supporting an industry of people to turn a handle on a broken process. And we're stifling innovation. But the thing that I care most about is that we're doing very little to identify and free the victims that are directly impacted by these crimes. And when I say that, you probably think of someone in a back room in a bodega selling a bag of Coke, or someone who is taking a bribe to get a bill passed or something like that. But actually, we're all the victims of financial crime. And I'm trying to raise awareness of that, because these crimes ripple. They don't just affect the two people that are, let's go with human trafficking. 11-year-old girl applies for a modeling job, and it's enough money that she's going to make in a foreign country to sustain her entire family. And the parents meet this guy, and everything's great, and they sign her over. And what do you know? Before she knows it, she's being flown all over the world and prostituted out and sending a pittance home every month and too afraid to ask for help. And that was the first human trafficking ring that I stopped in 2005 and sent 15 girls home. And I did that by accident. And then as my career continued, I saw that a lot of the effort that goes into the detection and prevention of financial crime, that we now call financial crime compliance, is almost soulless. It's like filling in a form and hoping it works. But if we really radically looked at what's working, what's not working, and the outcomes that we wanted to achieve, cash isn't bad. People aren't generally bad. And if we highlight the ones that are and are able to isolate them faster, we change the world economy. And if you're running a company, you have more money to invest in developing products. If you're working in that job, you get the sense of making a difference. And if you're a person who is at the bottom end of that pyramid and supporting all this illicit activity, you get an opportunity at a new life. And that is what my company is on about. You know, I tell people McDonald's didn't invent the hamburger, but it reinvented the process and became a global leader. So in my 30-year career, I've seen this industry from multiple sides, and I've designed a solution that gets to 15% effectiveness. And I'm looking for people when the industry average is 1. So I'm looking for people to help me do that, because stopping money laundering really does save lives.
You've got 10 seconds left, Meg. That was brilliant. So come on, what's the crypto connection?
Well, crypto is just another currency, right? And you're talking about it's traceable. Well, so is cash, right? So the regulator has one ruler by which to manage and oversee financial transactions globally. And crypto came along and gave 2 fingers to that and set up their own stuff. But now they're being wedged back into the same system that is not producing extraordinary outcomes for victims of financial crime. So it's another currency. I've gamified it. I've done zero knowledge proofs and digital identity. I've made it like Robux or avatars so they get to unlock certain levels, and it becomes a impassioned hunt that makes a difference. So does that answer?
I think so. Cool.
Meg.
Anyone in the audience got any questions then on that?
Yeah, I've got lots of questions. Meg, what are you actually asking for in that? I mean, it's a nice little story. I was going along with that, and the 11-year-old girl in modeling. I've dealt with modeling worldwide. Understand that. Then you talked about the pyramid. It was unclear where that came in. New life at the bottom. I'm not sure
So
what the life was at
pyramid
the
is
top.
okay, so the pyramid are all the
Yeah,
people.
but let me finish the whole thing. Um, you've got a 30-year career. You want to bring the solutions to 15%. What's your solution? What are you actually selling? What's your
So
product?
yeah, I
What's your
didn't think anyone
service?
was going to give a shit, so I hadn't prepared for this, but thank you. I was the AML expert at FeedsEye, who's now a unicorn. I've implemented major changes at another unicorn in the UK, and I've seen the problem from a different perspective. So I designed a new process that goes from the first hello to the last goodbye and makes it an exciting.
Where does it fit in? Who's your target audience? What is it? Is
Anyone
it software?
captured. Well,
Is it
it's a SaaS at the moment, but it is anyone that's captured by the AML regulations and financial transactions, so that compliance becomes an advantage rather than a pain in the ass.
so it's an add-on to the AML process?
Um,
KYC?
so yeah, it's from the first hello, so it is everything
So
digital
from KYC.
all the way through to the last transaction with all the regulatory
So
things, the updates.
it's an add-on. Is it portable between different countries, different languages? Because
I've only done
wherever
it
I am in the
so
world,
far.
I'm going
I've
to have to go through KYC AML.
Yeah. So I would be selling to the banking institutions, financial institutions at the moment. At the moment, it's only in English, but the
Right.
process isn't constrained by language. So that could definitely be on the roadmap for later. But I can happily send you the deck, and I'd really appreciate this feedback. But
Can I look at the deck?
yeah, please.
Okay, I'll send you my contact.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to go into that more.
I would
because
really appreciate it
it
because
seems really, really broad, but in your 3 minutes, I didn't understand what you were trying to tell me.
fuck, that sucks. Okay, so
I,
I've built a one-stop shop for financial crime detection and prevention with all the required elements through every step of the process for reporting, for information, for dispositioning, because I've done those roles and I've run it past
And
a
my
couple of experts.
and the benefit to me as a bank or as a financial institution is what? I don't
Well,
hear the benefits.
okay, cool. So let's say you're Lloyd's, yeah? Lloyd's
Yes,
has 28 different systems to comply with financial crime compliance. And none of them talk to each other. So the data is
I believe that. Yes.
and you're hiring armies of people to deal with alerts generated by these systems, where 1% of the time it's going to be right.
Okay.
My solution is a direct challenge to that and focused on getting to the answers faster. Does that,
Is that going to benefit me as a bank, though?
well, yeah, you're not going to spend 28 million a year on systems that are very little use and still get fined.
That's
And then with
it.
that money,
That
you'll be
that's the
able,
money. That's the money. That's the money
So
one right there. That's the best
that's
part.
the offset. Yeah.
Yeah.
and
So
on
what
top
you're
of that,
telling
then
me
you're
is you
able to
have
take that money and reinvest it into developing your actual business rather than sustaining an army of
right.
compliance zombies.
So what you're selling me is a bottom line reduction in spending over the KYC AML process, and it's going to improve the effectiveness by spending less.
And you're going to need less people. You're going to have more collaborative relationships with the
Okay,
regulator. The
got
one
it.
scenario I came up with was the cost of lost business. So let's say your sales guy's out there hustling a contact. You spend 2 minutes whining and dining them, only for somebody in compliance to go, oh my God, they once had lunch with Putin's cousin's dog. You know, we can't take that business. So those decisions are front loaded and easily acceptable. So it takes the veil of compliance.
HSBC would take it.
I worked on the deferred prosecution agreement
Yeah.
under Joe Evans
Okay.
in
I used to
HSBC.
work with Bank of America
Oh, wow.
dealing with some of these things. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
and I guess
All right. I'll send you a
Karen.
link.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I was going to suggest it's definitely worthwhile continued conversation on that. I mean, Meg, my only feedback really is that I think it's a great story, but I ended up without a clue as to what the solution is that you're actually proposing. So
Cool.
I think you covered that afterwards, where Stuart was asking, and it comes down to it's the standard thing, isn't it? It's like, what's the problem you're solving? What's the pain point? Who are the customers? How much do they want it? Do they want it? And what would they be willing to pay for it? But
So I have 23 clients that have signed letters of intent,
there you go.
and that's a minimum 1 million ARR a year.
Mhm.
But because I've shown myself sitting on a toilet smoking, I don't know. I'm having a trouble getting the first yes.
Mhm.
And so, Stuart, if I could run this past you and you could kick it into shape, I'd be very
Yep.
grateful.
More than happy, Meg.
Thank you.
Because I think it's one of these classic ones where it's a really fantastic direction to take, but needs the value proposition
Upfront.
positioning. Yeah, that's right. Because
Yeah.
because it comes down to ultimately what are you looking for right now?
Well, what it means is that you have to walk into the room and say, I can save you a lot of money.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how.
Yeah.
And I can make you loved by the regulators
And your customers and make
and your customers. Yeah.
Or presumably, Meg. I mean, who is your target right now? Is it the end customers like the banks and everything and regulators, or are you looking for investment?
Oh, good God. You told me I'd have 180 seconds, not a thorough autopsy. But yes, I'm looking for investment, and that's why I participated in the hackathon, because that comes with 250K to get me started. I met someone at London Tech Week
Mhm.
last week who said they would be very interested in helping me get the MVP out the door. But I'm doing this all on my own from a kitchen in Beckenham,
Yeah.
and all help is gratefully received.
So ultimately, it comes down to you're looking for investment. You've got a very strong proposition, which is pretty much groundbreaking in the market. You've already got interest from some of the players. You're going to save them a whole load of money, which makes your proposition a really sound investment type thing.
Yeah, it's like, like I grew up in New York City and the car alarms are going off every 40 seconds to the point that no one hears them. And that's basically what my industry is. If you had to go through 100 alerts to take one remedial action, that's a bit pointless, isn't it? So I've
Absolutely.
redesigned that system.
And Meg, I just wanted to add, I think from a business perspective, the guys have covered it. What you need is kind of, if you would need to pitch to a Dragon's Den type thing, what you would need. But the way you described it, that kind of the whole reason why, and ultimately trying to change the world. That's something that you could possibly put in front of the UK government, because that's almost sounds to me like you could get a grant there possibly to help you with that, rather than, and you don't pay back grants. So rather than it being from a business perspective, you're treating it more of a social, from a social aspect. The UK government would love to hear something like that, because you literally, they'd probably give you that grant, I think, if you probably did more of a deep dive into it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to suggest maybe continue the conversation offline around that area, because I think that's a really good point as well. Because the UK government is keen to promote innovation. Yeah.
With a 50K grant that takes 9 months to get. And that's why everyone's leaving.
Yeah.
So
And that's the frustrating thing on it. Right. I'm really sorry in terms of timing things, Nat, because we're going to have to close this call off now. I actually overrun by a minute or so, which I don't usually, which shows the strength of it. So
well,
that's
this
great.
is like going to play tennis on my own. I wanted to chat.
Oh, apologies, Gary. Apologies, Gary.
No, that's great. But I do have to cut these calls off at this time. We have a standard finish time. So I'm going to have to close it off. But if anyone wants to reach out to each other, please do. I think that's fantastic. And thank you, Meg, for sharing the story, the proposition, the value and everything. And thank you, everyone else, for joining and providing Meg with some feedback as well. Because
thank you very much.
Having been involved in mentoring many startups, it's sometimes the brutal feedback which is the most value, as opposed to the, oh, that's really nice, very good, good luck with that. You need a reality check. Anyway, Meg, thank you very much for that. Stuart, thanks for the feedback, and Annie, thanks as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for joining us. Miles, sorry you couldn't join us sooner. Do come and join us next
Who is
week.
Miles? Are we ever going to find out, other than Sound Man?
Yeah. Yeah. No, so just Gary, this will be recorded and on YouTube, as I understand it.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to be made famous. That's fine.
Even more famous.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. So I've great to be here. I'm a friend of James Bellwater, old Etonian guy, who founded the a lot of stuff in London, and I've been in the industry a while, and yeah, I kind of worked for a few blue chip crypto names, but yeah, Miles Ross, and happy to help if people need it.
Excellent. Well, do come and rejoin us next week, Miles. It's every Sunday, same time. Be great to learn a little bit more about some of the projects you've been involved in as well. So, folks, gonna have to close this off. It's the witching hour for me now. So, thank you very much.
Bye.
Have a great
Bye,
day.
Annie. Bye, Sarah. Bye, everybody. Thanks,
Bye
guys.
for now.